Welcome back to The Edge. This is your man Kamikaze, the OG, and I am in distinguished company right now, and I am very honored to have joining us on The Edge right now. He's going to give us a few minutes of his very valuable time. We have Dr. Amiri Baraka. Dr. Baraka, we want to thank you for joining us here.
Thank you very much.
Real quick, we're here today talking about arts and literature and activism. When we're talking about hip-hop, you're talking about spoken word, you're talking about poetry. Talk a little bit on the importance of those aspects and how important it is to the movement and activism in this day and age.
Well, it's part of the kind of intellectual environment. See, if you live in an environment that's telling you everything you do is wrong, you look like you're wrong, you know, you've never done nothing with your life, etc., you're gonna fail. You like incorporate those things into your psyche, you know what I mean? So what art should do, any positive art, should be trying to give you some kind of clear understanding of what the world is like. Why are we here? What is it like this? Why are we suffering like this? What should we do to make progress? And but the problem always is money. They can buy it. You know, I mean, the early rappers I thought were very progressive. You know, Grandmaster Flash and people like that. Bambada, you know, early Public Enemy. But they can steer it. You understand? Like, you know, my man who was one time wanted to talk about killing the cops, blowing the cops. Now he's a cop on television.
Right, Ice-T, right?
Yeah. So that's the way it goes. You know, you can either be what you need to be and hold out, which is very difficult, or you can, you know, just turn into cream of wheat. You know?
Now you've been actually, jailed for some of the things that you've written, and you talked about that on yesterday.
Yeah.
And people don't understand a lot of times, Dr. Baraka, how powerful words are.
Yeah, they're powerful.
Yeah, and you've been, as you say, you were in the joint for some of the poems that you wrote. Talk about, that particular incident, and do you think that the artists of today, do you think the hip-hop artists of today, spoken word, poetry artists, do you think they're prepared to take those same chances in their work?
Well, they taking chances that don't mean anything. They take chances of, walking around with drugs or walking around with pistols and so forth. That is a negative thing. I can see that you were doing for the movement, but I was locked up right after, just before, in the Newark Rebellion, 1967. I was out there, be an observer, and they picked me up at the end of that night and they beat me almost to death. But the thing was that the judge used the poem. He said, this is a proscription for criminal anarchy. It's a poem called Black People, which came out just before that. You say, but with the artists, you can see what's happening. Whether you want to admit that's what's happening or not, that's what's happening. He actually began to read the poem in court, and he took out all the nasty words, and I would supply them when he was. The problem is they don't want to hear the truth. See, I mean, if it's just stupidity, just ignore it. Right. See, would nobody know about that poem if you hadn't jacked me up?
Right.
You know what I mean? But that's what they are so guilty when you strike them.
What's some of the advice that you would give to some of the young writers today, and particularly the poets that are out there today in this society?
Write what you think is true. Like Keats and Du Bois say, only people you have to regard as truth and beauty. I would write what you think is true, but I would also do some work in building some kind of venues. We need to build still, the same thing we said in the 60s, build your own theaters, put out your own newspaper, because you cannot rely on them people, because they don't mean you're no good.
In the 60s, you talked about how the artists were actually involved in the movement, and they're kind of detached now. Talk about that a little bit, and talk about how it's different these days when you have people speaking on things and not really actually immersing themselves in what's happening.
We wanted an art that was black, culturally, historically. We wanted an art that would get out of those little small places and be a mass art. That's why I was glad to hear when rap first came on the scene, because kids would be walking down the street reciting it, you see? And then we wanted an art that would be revolutionary. It would fight the side of revolutionaries. You've got to bring the art in direct with the people. This stuff on the television and radio and stuff like that, that's corrupting. Every now and then you're gonna see something real. I'm not saying you won't, and can't, but you still have to have your own thing pumping.
Dr. Baraka, we appreciate you taking the
Thank you
time
very
out, man.
much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Enjoy your visit to Jackson, Mississippi. This is your man Kamikaze, the OG. You're watching The Edge. We'll be right back. We want to thank all of our guests for joining us today on The Edge. And if you want to get at us, you can hit us at theedgevideos@gmail.com, or you can tweet us at theedgevideos. If you want to get at me, at Kamikaze601. Joe, holla.
You know what it is. Your boy DJ Jonasty. Hit me up at DJ Jonasty on Twitter. Make sure you catch us next time on The Edge.